Hello, it's Phil Thatch, and I'm here today with another unboxing video. I can't believe how many unboxing videos I've had just recently. Usually I might do 1 or 2 unboxing videos a year, but this is my 3rd unboxing video in about 2 weeks. So sorry about all the unboxing videos, but if you sell a bunch of gear and buy a bunch of gear to replace it, you open a lot of boxes. So today is something very unusual. This may be the weirdest lens, or maybe even the weirdest piece of camera gear that I've ever purchased. And I bought this, you know, I usually try to buy at B&H or Adorama or Bedford's or Allen's or Robert's Camera, some real camera store. The last unboxing I did, I had to buy it at Amazon because that was the only place that had what I was looking for. Well, this time, and I've never done this before, I bought straight from the manufacturer. The first person, and it makes sense, the first person to get this back in stock was Canon. So I bought it from shop.canon.usa.com or something similar to that. And they don't have free shipping, but it didn't cost very much at all to upgrade to overnight shipping. And this thing was in San Francisco or someplace really near San Francisco yesterday. And today it's here in Tennessee. This is the Canon RF 800mm f11 IS for image stabilized. And I'm pretty excited about it. You know, I bought, and I just did an unboxing for the 100 to 500. And this is a fantastic lens, and you know, I've never owned a lens larger than 500 millimeters, which is funny because I've owned a lot of telephotos. First big lens I had was a Sigma 150 to 500, and then I bought my 500 millimeter f4 when I decided I was going to buy an exotic lens, and it was just a lot cheaper than the 600 f4, so I got the 500, and then I bought Nikon's 200 to 500. And now I've bought Canon's 100 to 500, so I've never had a lens larger than 500 millimeters until today. But this is kind of a small, large lens. It's hard to describe. Let's open it up and I'll talk about it some more. Let's see, important papers. Let's put those over there. Lots of plastic. Now this lens, unlike the 100 to 500 that I unboxed recently, which is a premium lens, it's an L lens, this lens is kind of just the opposite of that. This is an extra budget lens. In fact, this 800 millimeter lens only costs $899. My friend Mike Mitchum asked me if I was going to buy a teleconverter to put on the 100 to 500, and I said, you know, I think I'd rather spend, because the teleconverters I think are $499 and this is $899. I'd rather spend $400 more and get a whole lens. So here it is, pretty small for an 800 millimeter lens, but as it sits right here, it's not operational. Now I've never done this before, so I might mess this up, but I believe you turn this collar. Yeah, there we go. You turn it, and then you pull that out. It stretches on the back, not the front. You would think, you know, usually if a lens stretches, the front will stretch, but not this one. On this one, the back stretches, and with it pushed in, it's not even operational. So you pull it out, and then I think you have to lock this, lock that back into place, and then it becomes operational. It doesn't come with a lens hood, and that front element is pretty close to the edge. I think I might buy the optional lens hood, but apparently it's out of stock in most places. It's 95 millimeters, I believe, on the front. And this lens is weird because when you shoot this lens wide open, it's f11. If you stop this lens down as far as you can stop it down, it's f11. And I'll be honest with you, they came out with this lens and its little brother, which is a 600 millimeter f11 with the same sort of style. It's a little bit smaller, obviously. I kind of made fun of these things. I said, you know, these things, there's no way they can be any good. That's just, f11 is just too slow of a minimum aperture to be worth anything as a bird photography lens. And now here I am, all of a sudden I'm eating my words and I'm ordering one. So how crazy is that? And I was talking to Mike, because I'm talking less than a month ago, my friend Mike Mitchum, he was talking about maybe getting one of these, and I said, don't get one of those things, they're too slow, it's just ridiculous. And then I mentioned to him a little bit later that I was thinking about getting one. He said, what changed your mind? And I'll tell you what changed my mind. It's the program Topaz Denoise AI, because that program, you know, I'll have to shoot with this at higher ISOs than I like. And that Topaz program can really clean it up. Not only does it clean it up really well, it cleans it up really easily, which, you know, I don't like to spend a ton of time working on my photographs in post. So pretty excited about that program. And also, you know, like my old cameras, if this lens was slower than f8, they wouldn't focus. But apparently these Canon cameras, this new R6 and R5, I have the R6, apparently they can focus with an f11 lens. So we're going to try that out. Let's see what sort of controls we have on here. Okay, there is a full and limited focus. Now the crazy thing about this lens, the minimum focus distance on this lens is about 19 feet, which is ridiculously way out there. But this focus limiter is 20. You can have it on full, or you can have it where it won't focus closer than 20 meters. Well, 20 meters, I think 20 meters is 65 feet. Hang on. How many feet is 20 meters? 65.62 feet. So what a strange limit. 65, you can have it where it's 19 feet to infinity or 65.62 feet to infinity. I don't know. I guess there would be some situations where I wouldn't be trying to focus on anything closer than 65 feet. So I'll have to try that out. Now the next switch is a autofocus and manual focus selector. And the next switch is image stabilization off and on. It doesn't have the different varieties, doesn't have the 1, 2, and 3 type like the 100 to 500 does. Let's see what else we have. There's the focus ring, and this is the control ring. You know, these Canon RF cameras have a control ring on them. I use my control ring on my camera. I have it set for exposure compensation. So that is that. Let's see, it doesn't have a tripod collar and it doesn't have a tripod foot, but it does have a place where you can screw on a 1/4 or something, so you can put this on a tripod. So that's pretty good, you know, because even though it's pretty small and light, I think it only weighs 2.5, like 2.55 pounds. I can't remember the exact weight, but it's light. And so even though it's that light, it's pretty long, it'll be good to mount it here and kind of have it balanced on a tripod. Now, one area that I thought I might really use this lens is video. Because on video, you know, you usually want your shutter speed to be around 1/60th of a second if you're shooting 30 frames per second, which is how I normally shoot. And you know, a lot of times before I sold my 500 f4, I would use my 500 f4 and a big teleconverter to make a really long lens, and I would make videos of ducks as they were swimming around on the Curtain Pole Road pond, which is near here. And I would often stop down to even smaller, you know, and that could limit me here because I can't go smaller than f11. But I would stop down to f16, f18 to try to get everything just right to have a 1/30th of a second shutter speed. So long and short of it is I think I might use this maybe even more for video than stills. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of walk around the neighborhood. There's a trail in this neighborhood that sometimes you see some birds on. So I'm going to just kind of take it out and try it out on the R6. And then I'll come back and continue and give you my first impressions with this crazy, weird 800 millimeter f11 lens. I'll give you my first impressions of it in use. Stay tuned. Okay, so this is an addendum to this unboxing video. I actually had the whole video completed and uploaded, but I thought this information was important. Let me get this lens into shooting position. I had some trouble focusing on the photos I'm about to show you, and I had some trouble focusing the next day, and this is what I discovered was the problem. If you are shooting this lens, the natural place to rest your hand is right here. That's the manual focus override. So it's very easy to put your hand in the most natural spot and accidentally, if you move that thing 1/4 of a millimeter, you'll mess up your focus. So I had to train myself, and I still, even after knowing I don't grab it right here, I had to intentionally grab it here or here. I guess here would be the best place because you could still roll this exposure compensation, but the most natural place is right there where the focus ring is. So I wonder if there may be a way in the body to make this, because this is an electronic, this is not a mechanical connection. Man, it's smooth. It really feels super high quality on this very inexpensive lens, but there may be some way to turn it off to where it does nothing. I'm not sure. But it is definitely a focus destroyer if you happen to accidentally hold the lens right there. So don't do that. All right, so I walked around the neighborhood for a little while and made some photographs, and I'm just going to show you all of them. These are straight out of the camera with the exception of one. So let's get started. All right, so this is an 800 millimeter shot. Of course, all of these are going to be 800 millimeter shots, and they're all going to be f11. I was shooting full manual with the exception of automatic ISO, and I started out at 1/400th of a second, and that was probably too slow. Here's a robin that was a long way away from me, and on this one I got fairly close. But if you look at it up close at what is that? Probably 200%. It is still a little bit, I think it's more motion blur than not in focus. There's a trail in my neighborhood, and I was walking up the street to get to that trail, and I took a picture of one of my neighbor's flower display, and here is the backside of a brown thrasher from just a ridiculous distance, probably at least 50 yards. And here's another robin in a tree. Let's see if that one's... It's still... of course, these are just from ridiculous distances, and the bird's too small in the frame, and the camera's only 20 megapixels. So there's a number of problems with these. This is, by this time, there's some power lines that go through the neighborhood, and under the power lines is kind of almost a wilderness area, and there's some trails through it where people ride four-wheelers. And I took a picture of whatever this is, and it's pretty sharp, but not extremely sharp. I think I was like really close to minimum focus distance on this shot, and it may be slightly out of focus because of that. And this is at the top of one of the power towers. This is the numbers way up. I'm not sure how tall those power towers are, but they are tall. And I guess that must be power tower number 40. And this came out pretty sharp. Yeah, for the distance, that is relatively sharp. Here is a turkey vulture that was just stupid far away. Would not even have attempted to make this shot with any other lens, but I made a few snaps of the turkey vulture. And here's some more vegetation. This is a little bit sharper, I think, than the last vegetation shot. So maybe this one is not less than minimum focus distance. And now I have found a prairie warbler, and that's kind of what I went to look for. I've been hearing a prairie warbler with its unique call, and so I hiked along this area under the power lines trying to find a prairie warbler, and I found it just a little too late as it's taken off. You can see it flying away there. And here's another one where I got it in the frame a little bit too late and it took off. And you see there's a prairie warbler back in there. I'm trying to make a picture of a bird that's completely hidden. And this is the first time that the prairie warbler wasn't blocked, but I was having to kind of shoot through a lot of vegetation, and it was difficult. to get the bird in focus. That's just a vegetation shot. And this is probably the best section of prairie warbler shots. And I chased this little bird around for 10 minutes or so. And this one has been edited. As you can see, this is 2251, and this has been edited. And this is what 2251 looks like straight out of the camera. Edited, straight out of the camera. And that's also straight out of the camera. And now there's 2252 and 53, 54, 55 has definitely got some motion blur going on. 56 is better. 57 looks like he's fixing to make his call. 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. Camera does shoot fast, and I don't even have it on its fastest frame rate. Now it's going to do its call. But I still thought, even though this one's doing the call, I still thought that picture that I chose to edit was a little bit sharper than this. You know, this lens is just not as sharp as the 100 to 500. Here it is doing its call up in a tree. It's not as sharp as the 100 to 500. It's just not going to be as sharp as the 100 to 500. This lens has more focal length, smaller aperture, and way less expensive. So it's not, you know, you don't expect this lens to be super duper tack sharp. However, I was shooting in kind of crappy conditions, and well, missed focus big time there. And I really expect to be able, that's just a photo of vegetation, and here's a house sparrow. I really expect to be able to use this lens, especially perhaps on larger birds than these, from maybe a little bit further distance, or maybe even at this distance. I think this lens is going to be really something. I'm glad I bought it. None of these pictures are extraordinarily dynamite. That's 200% on that shot. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just not amazing. But it's cool, you know. And I really think, look here. Here's a red-winged blackbird, which you don't normally see these unless there's a water area. But there is under the power lines a low area where there's kind of a pond. And I made this photograph of the female red-winged blackbird. And if you look back, she was pretty underexposed, and then I turned the exposure compensation wheel and exposed her better. I might have turned it a little too far. And now we're back in the neighborhood, and I totally missed focus on this mockingbird, and then I bagged it. And this is pretty close to minimum focus distance here. So that is that, and here's Heather's bunny, and the eye detect autofocus did work. Now, let me tell you, with other lenses, you can autofocus pretty much anywhere on the screen. With this lens, if you'll follow my pointer, it's basically a square like this is the only place you can autofocus. So you lose all of this area over here on the left, and you lose all of this area over here on the right, and a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom. But you still have, you know, I would have thought if you had told me, oh, there's going to be a lens that's f11 and it's autofocus, I would have said, no way, cameras can't autofocus an f11 lens. And turns out that they can now with the miracle of modern technology. The focus point was right here on this fake bunny's eye. All right. Thanks for watching my unboxing and initial impressions of this crazy, weird Canon 800mm f11 lens for the RF system. It's really pretty amazing how small and light it is, and I think I'm really going to be happy with this purchase. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. There will be a lot more content, I'm sure, on the channel over the years using this lens. So stay tuned for more, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.